Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a library book haul. These are all books that I checked out at my local library, and I just wanted to share some with you. If you have any ones in particular you're interested in, I'll definitely make sure to include them in reviews upcoming on this channel. And let's just go ahead and hop into the first one. So I actually have two from the same series because I'm really on a roll with this series, so I picked up the next two because I knew I would devour them because I'm really enjoying them, and that is the Bakeshop Mystery series by Ellie Alexander. Since my library's name has my town in it, I do have these on the library books just so you can't see the town I live in, so sorry about that. But these are the covers here. We have On Thin Ice here, and we have Caught Red-Handed here. So I actually just got all these library books like 2-3 days ago, but I already finished this one because it was so good. So this is the third one. Yes, this is the third one in the Bakeshop Mystery series, and basically the main character, Jules, lives in Ashland, Oregon, and she helps her mother out in her bake shop called Tort, and it's just this super delightful setting, really enjoyable. You really feel like you're there. It's very enjoyable, and it will make you hungry. It will. There'll be descriptions of both savory and baked goods that will just, you will be hungry reading this. But the premise of this one is that Jules is actually going with one of Tort's employees, Sterling, to a winter ski resort to cater the weekend because they just recently expanded into catering, and it's an off-season retreat for the board of directors for this business in Ashland, Oregon. And so a friend of hers asks her to cater for the weekend, so she and an employee, Sterling, head up there, and it's kind of it's a closed mystery series as a result because they do end up in the middle of a really bad snowstorm, and the elevation at the resort is higher than Ashland, Oregon, so they get snowed in very badly. So it ends up being a closed mystery, which I personally love. Closed mysteries where that someone on the premises did it, because no one can leave or enter the scene of the crime. It's someone on the premises. Those are some of my favorite types of mysteries. So I was really excited about this. It did not disappoint. This was a really great addition to the series. I definitely recommend it. The other one is the fourth one in the series, Caught Red-Handed. So I haven't started this one. I'm probably going to start it in the next day or so. I'm eating these up. They're really, really good. So basically in this book, Jules has returned to Ashland, Oregon, and there's a lot of drama in her personal life going on. And Ashland, Oregon, in this setting is really known for its Shakespeare festivals and events, and they're having their big Shakespeare festival, and so a lot of the restaurants in the area are catering and putting on events and things in the celebration of this huge festival, because Tort is a very tourist-driven town. And one of the local restaurant owners, Mindy, ends up dead, and so Jules is on the case trying to figure out what happened, and also trying to solve some things in her personal life that are going on. I don't want to really touch on it too much because it has some potential for spoilers, so I'm not gonna go on that, but I'm really, really excited to start reading this one. And yeah, so these were the first ones I picked out. Very excited. Okay, so this is a new series to me as well. I read the first one in December, I want to say, and this is a St. Just mystery. It's by G.M. Mallet, and the fun part about this mystery series is that, from what I can tell, all of the titles of the books are called Death and then insert some type of writer or writing trope. So the first one was Death of a Cozy Mystery Writer, or a cozy writer, something like that. I'll put the cover on screen. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it was really good. It's very Agatha Christie style writing. It has a very kind of old charm the way it's written. It doesn't feel as contemporary. I actually have a really hard time figuring out exactly when this book is supposed to be set in. That was one of my only critiques for the first book, is I couldn't really tell the time and place. It almost felt like a book from the that it was set in the 1900s at first, but then some things popped up that made me question it, if it was more modern. I don't know. So if you actually know, what the setting of this is, let me know. But really excited for this. Basically, this features a lit chick author who ends up dead. I guess that's the trope for these books, is every single time an author ends up dead, and he's kind of cycling through the genres. But this one is a lit chick one. I thought this would be kind of fun for Valentine's Day because lit chick kind of just makes me think of Valentine's Day. And so basically there's like a writer's conference, and this very well-established, well-known lit chick writer is there, and she ends up dead, and there's a lot of jealousy and different things that could be going on. And so St. Just, who is an inspector but very much reminds me of like, he's like a small town inspector, like he doesn't have like that big town like cop feel to him. He's a little more like cozy feeling to me anyways, and these mysteries definitely don't have anything like graphic in them, at least from the first book there wasn't anything very graphic, so it does fall in that cozy mystery genre. So I'm really intrigued to continue this series. I think the cover is really fun, so we're gonna give this one a shot, see how we like it. I hope it's as good as the first one. I really enjoyed the first one. It definitely is. The first one at least was a little bit slower, like it took me a little bit longer to kind of get into. It didn't have as fast of a pace as a lot of newer cozy mysteries have, so that's kind of part of the reason it felt like a little more of a classic cozy mystery to me, because it was like you had to kind of give it a little time to kind of really get into its groove, but it was definitely worth the wait for me, so I'm excited to see how this one goes. Okay, so this next one is a nonfiction. This is actually going to be a reread for me. I read this the first time last fall, and it was absolutely so incredible, and I feel like I've really, after January, which was a very big month for me in terms of like how much work I was doing and stuff, I thought this would be a good reread because you'll see it's thematic. This is the book Rest by Alex Soojung-Kim, and this is a book about basically why you get more done when you work less, and it's all about the concept of like how to rest well, an active rest, because a lot of times when we're talking about productivity and like work, we only focus on like how to work better. We never actually focus on what productive, efficient people do when they're not working. Like, and this book really breaks down studies on what, you know, some of the most brilliant people in history did to kind of recharge and keep themselves creative and keep themselves rejuvenated and like rested, basically. So this breaks down a lot of science. It goes into like different case studies on different famous people in history. It goes into studies from people today. It's a really great book, and I started reading it already again, and it's just definitely a good reminder, and it has some really good applicable tips to it as well, which I liked. So it kind of has like the first section which explains the concept of it, what is active rest, here's people who used it and how they did, and then like the second part of the book really breaks down, here's how to apply it to your own life. And I feel like this book, especially if you have some flexibility in your work schedule, like I'm self-employed, so I have a lot of control over my schedule, this is especially useful. But even if you do work like a 9-to-5, this book has a lot of great tips to how to really rest and recover well on the weekends, and like how to utilize time better like after or before work. It's really good. It's one of my favorite nonfiction books that I've read last year, for sure. So our next book is called The Vanished Bride by Ellis, and this is a Bronte sister mystery. This is the first in the series. I haven't read any by this, but this is a historical fiction cozy mystery where the main characters are actually reimagined versions of the Bronte sisters. So it's actually 3 primary characters. And in this book, which is the first in the series, the Bronte sisters are horrified to learn that some poor woman near their home, a young wife, you know, thus the vanished bride, she has disappeared. There was blood in her home, and she left 2 young children behind, and they're trying to uncover what happened to this woman, basically. And I'm super excited for this. I love a good historical fiction mystery. I've personally enjoyed the Louisa May Alcott and Daphne du Maurier mystery series where they were reimagined as well in a similar fashion, so I'm really excited for the Bronte sisters. And I'm even more excited because I just realized that there is a little review here from Rhys Bowen, who writes the Royal Spinus series and the Molly Murphy series, which I actually have a book in my stack to show you in a minute. And she says the Bronte sisters as sleuths, what a delicious idea. So she's praising the book, which makes me really happy because she's one of my favorite authors. So I'm very excited for this. I've seen some really good things on Goodreads. It's been on my TBR for a while, so excited to jump into that one. Speaking of Rhys Bowen, let's go ahead and talk about the Molly Murphy series that I picked up. This is called For the Love of Mike. This is a historical fiction set in the I want to say early 1910s, and it features Molly, who is an Irish immigrant to America, and she's in New York, and it features a lot of really interesting topics. Like, it talks about, you know, different ways that people were discriminated against at that time, different like women's rights, just lots of different things, and it features Molly, who is personally not content with being just a housewife. I put that in quotations because there's obviously nothing wrong with being a homemaker in any way, but she doesn't want to be pigeonholed just because of like what society thinks women should be doing at the time. She wants to have the choice to, you know, do what she wants. And so she actually has her own detective agency, and it's a really great historical fiction cozy. I highly recommend it. I've read a lot of this series. This is the third one in the series. This is one of the few ones I've read out of order completely, and I wish at the time I started reading this, I didn't know that you could request books from other library like within the same branch. So I didn't know that my library had like the ability to get a lot more than the ones they had at my like home library, so I ended up reading them out of order, and it's kind of a mess, but I'm trying to go back right now and fill in the ones that I didn't read. So this one is going to be really, really exciting. So this book actually features 2 cases that her detective agency is working on. She's had like a big stalemate in her business, no one's really coming to her, and then suddenly she gets 2 cases. One is from an aristocratic family who's worried that their daughter ran off with an unsavory man. I'm not sure, you know, based on the summary, if he's like a crook or if he's just not wealthy and they don't like him and think he's good enough. I'm not really sure, but they want her to track down the daughter. And then the other case is actually kind of talking about what I was saying with the important issues, wants Molly to go undercover as a garment worker in one of the local factories because they suspect that the workers there are being exploited. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. I love the covers for these. I think they're really, really fun, and yeah, I'm very excited. If you haven't read the Molly Murphy series and you like historical fiction, I would very much recommend it. So it's been a long time since I just walked around my library and just kind of browsed and picked things off the shelf, and I'm really glad I went and did that recently because this one caught my eye and I ended up getting it, and I'm really excited. So this is actually like a fantasy novel, but it has a murder mystery in it, and I used to read a little more fantasy, but I really enjoy more like true like mystery genre picks now, but I do still enjoy the occasional like fantasy novel, especially if it has a mystery woven into it. So this book I picked up, it's called The Enchanter General Ironfoot, Medieval Magic, Murder, and Mayhem, which picked up my attention right away. And then the side is what actually caught me, the spine here, and when I saw that in the library I was like, oh, that looks cool. And this cover, isn't it beautiful with all the little different elements and things? I love it. So basically this book is set in the year 1164, and it's set in England, and England has been ruled by the Normans for 100 years, and a young Saxon named Derwin, his whole life he's been crippled by a childhood accident. So this accident's really set him back in life, but he kind of has a breakthrough when he's teaching at this rural that word trips me up, rural school of magic, which is, you know, his job, but he ends up prophesizing that someone is going to be murdered. And shortly after this prophecy, they realize that it was correct, and so he's actually picked up by the King of England, and like his powers are starting to be used by them, and he actually learns of a plot to assassinate the king. So he has to kind of uncover what's happening, figure out what's happening, and kind of stop the plot on the king's life in time. So this sounds really interesting to me. It is part of a series. It's the Enchanter series, and yeah, it's been a good while since I've read a fantasy novel, so I'm excited for this. I love that there's some magic involved, and anything, you know, with royals and murder, I'm kind of there for, honestly. So this sounds really good. Let me know if you've read any of these. So this next one I have already started, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's called Dollars and Cents: How We Misthink Money and How to Spend Smarter, and it's by Dan Ariely and Jeff Kreisler. I'm going to put that a little closer so you can look at the spelling. I'm not quite sure how to say that last name, but this book's really interesting. So it's basically like so there's two authors here, and Dan is a best-selling author and like journalist, and then Jeff is actually a Princeton-educated lawyer turned award-winning comedian, author, speaker, and advocate for behavioral economics, which is an interesting combination, but you know, it works really well with this book. So basically this book has been breaking down so far different like common spending triggers and why we really do it on like an emotional and scientific level. So there's a lot of really interesting science here. There's interesting like case studies. They have a really good way of not just like throwing science at you, but also breaking it down and putting it into more real terms. Like here's how it actually affects people in their day-to-day life, which is how I like to read my nonfiction, because if you're just sitting there quoting facts at me, that's great, but like if you really put it into like a storyline, or like here's how it's affected this person, like examples of it, that's how it sticks, and I really like absorb the information. So far I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, so part 1 I already finished, and that was the section on what is money, just kind of the value we assign it, like the opportunities it gives us, just different interesting things. Part 2 is all about how we assess value in ways that have little to do with value, which ends up leading us into making like kind of poor spending decisions oftentimes, like because we just don't assess things correctly, or like on a logical level, and so that kind of breaks down that emotional connection we have with money and how it kind of trips us up at times. And the last one is called Now What? Building on the Shoulders of Flawed Thinking, and so that's kind of the more practical application section. So I really like how this is built, how this book is like outlined and built. I appreciate it when authors really make a hard, when they have like a nonfiction topic like this and they break it down, they do their thorough research and explain it really well, but then they go and have a second section that takes those concepts you just learned and builds upon them, so you actually have applicable tips. So I really love that. I'm super excited for this. I'm already about a third of the way through. I'm in part 2 right now, which is talking about the different emotional decisions and things that we make based on like different value like fallacies that we have. So I'm really excited. I think this is a really interesting book. I do, as you can tell, love my mysteries. That's primarily what I read for fiction, and that's mostly what I talk about on my channel. But if you would be interested in seeing some more like nonfiction book talks or other genres, let me know, because I do read, after like mysteries and like historical fiction, nonfiction would be my next like most read category probably, and I have some really good finds I've had over the years, so let me know if you'd be interested in that. So these last 2 are really just like super fun reads for me. If you haven't seen this series, it's probably not going to be as exciting for you as it is for me, but if you're an Avatar: The Last Airbender fan, I just recently learned, and I don't know how it took me so long to learn this, but they have novels for like other avatars, so specifically Kyoshi. So they have the Rise of Kyoshi and the Shadow of Kyoshi, and so these are actual like young adult novels. Like they're not, I knew they had comics, but these are actual like novels. So I'm excited. These are actually fairly thick. I mean they're fairly thick actually, but I'm really excited for these personally. I've heard some amazing things about this, and it's just gonna be really interesting to go back and see another Avatar and what their life was like. I loved the Avatar: The Last Airbender series that came out, I don't know exactly when they came out. I know I watched it a lot in high school, but I think it came out, some of it at least, when I was in middle school. And then The Legend of Korra came out, which, my hot take, I personally love Legend of Korra. I think it is just as good. I think it's incredible. It has a different goal that it's accomplishing. It's different than the other series. The other series was like significantly about world building and, you know, this like one big quest, whereas Legend of Korra has lots more like specific smaller plot lines. But I personally love Legend of Korra just as much. You know, don't come for me. I know a lot of people don't and we're disappointed with it, but I love it. And I was actually just rewatching the series with my husband, who had never seen it, and he's really enjoying it too. But this is The Rise of Kyoshi, so I was looking up something about Legend of Korra, and these popped up, and I was like, oh, there's novels. So I'm excited. My library had both of them, and I will be reading both of these. I'm very excited. So those are mostly nostalgic reads for me, and just because I personally love the series. So apparently these are actually New York Times best-selling novels too, which I'm not surprised. Of course, these are the TV series was so popular that one, you know, doesn't surprise me. But alright, and so that is the end of my library book haul. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down below in the comments what books have you recently got from your library or purchased. What are you currently reading? I always love to hear about that. And let me know if you would be interested in the occasional video on like nonfiction or some other genres of books. If you have any in particular you're interested in, let me know in the comments. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I do upload monthly reviews of all the books I read that month, so a lot of these will probably be in the February monthly reading wrap-up. So definitely stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!